So I just finished SUPERHOT. Oh, and also Plague Inc. Evolved on Steam. I don't feel like I can really talk enough about that game to like do a full thing on it, so here's my very short "so I just finished Plague Inc. Evolved." Plague Inc. Evolved is a mobile game, which you can get on Steam. So anyway, SUPERHOT. Plague Inc. Evolved is also pretty decent, whatever. Anyway, yeah, SUPERHOT. Pretty cool game. I like it a lot overall. Not perfect, but very strong, and I would love to see more from these same developers. I'd love to see them expand this game out and make something even better from it, because while I liked what was here a lot, what I like even more is the potential that there is for improvement. Because you see, SUPERHOT is, it's kind of a one-idea game. Geez, sorry, I keep wanting to burp, and it doesn't like, I try to do it like with my mouth shut so that it doesn't sound, but then it like doesn't come up. So I just end up doing like this weird little hitch. I don't know. My throat's acting up, but whatever. SUPERHOT. It's like a one idea kind of game where there's just like, hey, how about a game where you determine how quickly time moves based on your own movement. So, you can use that to your advantage by standing still to slow everything down and give yourself more time to figure stuff out. It's kind of like how in a lot of RTS games, you can like change the game speed. Not RTS, more sim games. RTS doesn't usually support that. But in a lot of sim games, you can move the game speed with like a slider or different buttons. But this is put directly into a real-time first-person thing, and they made the speed control buttons just be however fast you're moving, so that it's a lot more intuitive, and you can just kind of wrap your head around it without having to worry too much about like actively changing things. It flows better. It takes the same idea and makes it something that you can actually play with in a real-time action game, and I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun, stylish as all hell. You are basically playing the Matrix. It's pretty fucking cool. You can do all kinds of crazy stupid bullshit. You can one of the first things you're gonna have to learn how to do is to lead your shots to accurately like make a headshot from across the room without missing. I mean, you don't have to get a headshot, but you want to because it's cool. Like every hit kills. Well, every hit except for basic punches, but every hit with a weapon, and particularly every hit from a bullet, will kill in a single hit. So it doesn't really matter whether you get a headshot or not, because they're gonna die anyway. But it looks cool if you get a headshot because their head just fucking explodes and shatters into pieces. It's fucking sick. So you want to learn how to do that, and as you move forward, you learn about throwing weapons, and you can use those you can throw a weapon at a bullet to block the bullet and not take damage, and that will also usually startle the enemy into dropping their gun, which you can then pick up and use against them. Very cool. As you go forward, you learn about melee weapons, which most melee weapons do actually have limited uses similar to the guns. It's just instead of ammo, they break over time. With the one exception being the katana, which you get about, I want to say about halfway through the game is when they start showing up. And it's my personal favorite weapon from the game. It is a melee weapon which has infinite uses, because you just slice and dice and you don't break it. And, all the other melee weapons are like bats, and I think there's shovels as well. Stuff and crowbars. Stuff that like you bash them with it and and it chips a piece off, and you can like kind of see how much you got left on it by how much it's been chipped. But yeah, the katana, you slice and it doesn't break at all. So the katana can be used infinitely. And what's really cool about the katana is not only can it be used infinitely, but if you throw it, it'll stick into a wall or floor and stay there instead of shattering like every other item in the game does when thrown. And also you can use the katana to slice bullets in half, which is fucking sick. Like it's such a cool thing. It's such a cool thing to do. It's very satisfying once you've learned like how to do it properly to like, say you got like one guy left and he's got a pistol, so he's taking shots at you and you're just running straight towards him slicing each bullet in half as you move forward. Very cool to watch in like the replay at the end of the level, because at the end of each level it plays through everything that you did at normal speed rather than speeding up and slowing down with your movement, and that's very cool to watch at normal speed. But yeah, very slick looking game, very cool to see the kind of stuff that you can pull off. You can also shoot bullets out of the air if you're accurate enough, but that's really hard. Very satisfying to do it. It all has a very good like kinesthetic feel too. Like when you slice a bullet in half, like you can kind of almost feel like when the sword like goes through the bullet, like you can almost like feel the blade slicing through the metal. It feels like it's like this smooth sort of resistance that it feels like. It's hard to explain, but you can feel it, man, and it feels nice. It feels buttery smooth, and the two halves of the bullet like go flying off in different directions. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, it's a great game to look at. It's a great game to play. It feels good in your hands. All of the weapons have a good recoil to them. They feel like yeah, I just fired that, and then you actually can't take another shot until the recoil is ended. And yeah, that's kind of how the game stops you from just spamming bullets all over the place. Is each time you fire, say, the handgun, you gotta wait for the recoil to end before you can fire it again. And but yeah, the way that like when you pull the trigger, like you got your recoil, you've got a very nice, satisfying muzzle flash, and you can see the bullet exit the gun, and the bullet leaves like a little red trail. It's just, there's a lot of visual feedback going on every time you do anything in this game, pretty much. Ah, geez, sorry, my throat is still acting weird. But yeah, it's great. It feels great. It looks great. And it's really interesting from like, it's a really interesting gameplay experience, you know, in terms of the mechanics that exist. Because what you basically have is you have the execution challenge of like a fast-paced shooter, like a Doom or even like a Hotline Miami sort of. You know, you've got like this like, you gotta be accurate, you gotta prioritize your targets, you gotta make sure that your shots don't miss, because, you know, 1, that's wasting ammo, 2, that's wasting time, 3, you're going to die. So you've got that aspect to it of like, get good, learn how to aim proper, learn how to avoid damage. But because of the fact that you can slow down time, you also have like the methodical planning and strategizing of, I'm going to do this, then that you would get out of like a turn-based strategy game. It's really cool and interesting, and I've never played anything like it. And this is supported by the fact that that all of the weapons feel meaningfully different. Like, you know, having time to slow down and plan things out wouldn't matter much if there was just like, you know, if all your options were pretty much the same and it was just a matter of like, well, which guy do I shoot first? But in this game, all of the weapons feel like they're meaningfully distinct from each other. You know, you got your melee weapons, which I kind of group into like one single like weapon type, because the bat and the crowbar, they are the same weapon, you know. So that's the melee stuff, which again, you know, you hit with it, bits of it chip off, it's limited use. You got your katana, which is probably the most useful weapon in the game, just because it can negate so many threats. And then you got your pistol, which is a, you know, one shot and then wait for the recoil to end type of gun. You've got your shotgun, which is also one shot and wait for the recoil to end, and has less ammo than the pistol, but it shoots in a spread, and it's really cool to see the pellets like just splay out of the gun. It's very nice. And then finally there is a machine gun, an assault rifle type weapon, which is burst fire. So if you know, when you pull that trigger, you better be committed to the next 5 or 6 shots, or maybe it was 4. But anyway, yeah, you know, it fires several shots, so you got to make sure that you have planned what you were going to do with those shots, because you don't want to waste them. You know, that would suck. And yeah, it's really cool. It's nice that every option feels like there's a reason why you would go for it. Aside from the actual weapons, you've also got improvised weapons, which are just little bits of little things in the environment that you can just pick up and throw, which can be used to again block bullets and stun enemies. Oh, and you've also got your fists, which is just, when you don't have a weapon. It takes 3 fist hits. Ah, damn it, I forgot to silence my phone. Whatever. It takes 3 fist hits to kill an enemy, so it's obviously not an ideal thing, but it can be very cool. It can be satisfying to go and combo somebody to death with your fists. But yeah, other than that, I noticed that I never got really frustrated with this game. Even on the few occasions that I got stuck on a level for a bit, I never got really annoyed with it, because it's just always so fun to play that it's impossible to get annoyed. Although that said, while the game isn't frustrating, part of that is also because it never gets really hard. I never got really stuck on anything, and it never took me more than a few tries to beat a level. Which is, I feel like this game could really shine if it would really crank up the difficulty and throw some just mean challenges at you. I think that this game could really benefit from stacking the deck against the player in a way that feels unfair, and the only reason that it's not unfair is because you can take as long as you want to make your decisions. Well, not entirely as long as you want. When you're standing still, time doesn't completely stop; it just slows way down. But you can basically take as long as you want within reason. But yeah, I feel like it would have been cool to have the game get harder towards the end than it did. As it stands, the story of the game is really short. It's about 2 hours long, which it does make up for this with challenge rooms and endless modes and that kind of thing after you've beaten it. So overall, I think that the game has a healthy amount of content, but yeah, the story itself is really short and just very easy. You can blast through the whole story in 2 hours. And I think that could have been helped both by having just more levels in the main story and by making the later levels harder, so that you would actually have to spend more time on them and have to really come to terms with the mechanics and really familiarize yourself and master them. Of course, the lack of difficulty is kind of the least of the story mode's problems. I think that the biggest of the story mode's problems is just that the story is a whole bunch of fucking nothing. It's just a bunch of pseudo transhumanist meta stuff about you're a dude with a VR computer and you broke into this game, but it turns out that the game is a trick, and the people behind it are trying to get people to let go of their bodies or whatever, and put their minds into the computer system or some shit. I don't fucking. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't go anywhere. At the end of it, you do that, and then you spread the word about SUPERHOT to other people. Oh, it's going on, it's continuing. I don't give a fuck. It's nothing. It's fucking nothing. It's very low tier meta shit. This is stuff that's been done better other places. You've got the very basic, oh, you have to turn the game off to continue forward. Oh, we're not gonna let you play. Oh, we're not gonna let you turn it off right now. You're not in control here, except I am, because even though the escape button doesn't work, Alt F4 does. So shut up. No, it's just very. It comes across as kind of pretentious, and it also it feels like they had a meta-narrative as a replacement for an actual narrative. Which, if you want to impress me, I like meta stuff, but there has to be something there beyond just the fact that it is meta. Undertale had a meta-narrative, but it also had a very enjoyable, well-done, just actual narrative, where you've got characters who are enjoyable and endearing and entertaining, in addition to this sort of meta-commentary on the nature of being a player of a game and the way that people engage with games. And I don't think that I would have been nearly as impressed with the meta-commentary if it weren't for the fact that it also had these really, really good characters and this great actual narrative. And that's the problem with SUPERHOT, is that it has the meta commentary, but it hasn't put in the work of setting up an actual narrative for that meta commentary to take place in. And a meta commentary just by itself, it doesn't make for an interesting story. It can make for an interesting essay, but not a story. And this game is, this game would have benefited from a story. The game is not an essay. And you know, there's no reason that it needed to be meta anyway. This game could have, you know, this game is cool enough that they could have just had an actual story without trying to be meta, and I would still fucking love it. I would probably like it better than this. Because, like, they could have even had a pretty mediocre actual story, and I would have been fine with it because the gameplay is so fun, you know? They didn't need to have to, like, try to be all avant-garde in the most low-tier way possible. So, yeah, the story is... like, I don't know, it's not like the story ruins the game or anything, you know, the game is not worse for the story being in there, but the problem is that the story doesn't leave much of any impression at all, and it's pretty much like a neutral factor. Like, you know, you can take or leave the story, but, you know, if you're gonna have something in the game, I feel like it should be something that the game would be worse without, you know, and the game would not be worse without its story. It wouldn't really be better either, it would be equally good. Aside from that, while I did mention that that all of your weapon options do feel distinct from each other, I feel like the actual volume of them could have been higher. I feel like it would have been nice to have like a few more different weapon types to play with. Maybe also some more enemy types too, because all of the enemies in this game are just the exact same dude who functions exactly the same as you do in terms of can pick up things and shoot and slash and throw. The only mechanics that you have that the enemies don't have is hot switching, which allows you to just switch to one of their bodies after a while, like it operates on a cooldown. And of course, they don't control time like you do. So you spend the entire game just fighting basic dudes who are just armed with whatever happens to be around them or whatever they spawn in with, which are all of the same weapons that you can also use. So I think it would have been interesting to have an enemy type that, you know, that had an option that you don't have, that like they had like some sort of inbuilt weapon that you couldn't take from them or something. You know, maybe some weapon types that aren't dudes, maybe like a dog or something. You know, just something that's just not a dude. Especially since all of the dudes in this game look exactly the same, because the game has a very minimalist art style. The environment is white. The dudes that you fight are red silhouette guys that are just like they're just a basic human model with no details on it, and then the weapons and things you can pick up are black, and that's it. Like, it's just white, red, and black, and it works. I think that it looks good, and I think that it is good for like allowing you to quickly and easily discern where the enemies are, where your offensive options are, and that kind of thing. But, you know, it works against the fact that there's no enemy variety, because, like, you know, I feel like the lack of variety might have been a little bit less jarring if the enemies were visually distinct from each other, like if they each had like different features or something despite all being the same dude. Like, I feel like that would have softened the blow a little bit. I still probably would have been a little bit annoyed at how little enemy variety there is, but at least they wouldn't all literally be the exact same guy, which they are right now. It's you know, that's just a little bit less than ideal. But, you know, having said all that, I still think that it's a great game. I really enjoyed what I played. I feel like it's also a great starting point, you know, where like it's a fantastic game that I heartily recommend. You can get it on Steam for, how much is it? I keep forgetting to like pull stuff up on Steam ahead of time so that I'm not looking it up in the middle of recording this. Yeah, I am an amateur. Anyway, you can get it on Steam for, once it loads, $25, which I think is, maybe just barely steep for it. Like, I think maybe 20 would probably be the right amount given the amount of content on offer here. But I mean, you know, it's a cool game. It's satisfying. It's fun. I just feel like it could be better. You know, it's good, but it could be better. That's really the long and the short of it. It's a very good game that could be a little bit better. You know, it could be a little bit better if it had some more different types of weapons. It could be a little bit better if it had some more different types of enemies. It could be a little bit better if it had an actual story instead of just fucking meta-narrative bullshit. But overall, it's still really good. It's still a great game. It's still worth your time and money. I would just love to see these same developers, you know, moving forward, make like a sequel to it or something that does more to deliver on the on the potential that I see here. I would love to see them make an iterative sequel, something that isn't trying to be a completely different thing, but I would love to just see SUPERHOT 2, more features and depth edition, you know? I think that would be a lot of fun to see. But overall, SUPERHOT is a great game that I enjoyed a lot. You know, I'm probably going to put a lot of time into the endless mode, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, it's a good game. I recommend it. Maybe pick it up on sale though, because again, I feel like $25 is just barely steep for the amount of content on offer. Like if it gets even as low as just 20, then go for it. On my Michael Rosen scale, I would give this game... Shit, where did my Michael Rosen scale go? I don't remember where I put it in. It's probably in video shit here. Yes, it is. Sorry about that. Yeah, on my Michael Rosen... Wait, where... Is it not in here? Fuck. Okay, hold on. Okay, here it is. Yeah, on my Michael Rosen scale, I would give this game a... Honestly, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. It'll be great. Yeah, I said it'll be great. I don't know if I'm like remotely... I don't know if that delivery is remotely okay. But, you know, whatever. That's what I say about it. It's a great game. It's a very... You know, I like it a lot. Could be a little bit better. Could be improved. Not a big fan of the story. But go pick it up and play it anyway. It's a lot of fun, and you probably will not regret any time that you spend with it. It's just a very solid, enjoyable game.